All right, we're going to address the last topic, which is generally how the training which Lieutenant Larson discussed was applied in what we're calling Ramadi 2, which is the deployment to Iraq that 3-7 made in 2007.
When we got to Ramadi in 2007, the city had went from it had drastically changed from being a kinetic environment where the people actively supported the insurgency to now in that over the time we were back here training to come back, they had several events had occurred to transition. The people basically stood up against the insurgents and they became active supporters of coalition forces. So when we got there, we assessed the situation. It's like, hey, we have the active support of the people now. How do we not lose it? Well, this is kind of what we had trained for, but not really. So when we got there, we identified like, hey, we've got a certain amount of time to get these guys on board with us, or else we're going to lose them back to the insurgents. Because if you remember, we're both struggling for the will of the people. So we get there and we're trying to implement some of this training stuff we'd use, but a lot of this we were coming up with on the fly, basically identifying like, hey, we're gonna use this tool to keep the people on our side. If we talk with like tools, infrastructure, on like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we go in and target like the sewers. So we're fixing the sewer systems. This is this is well out of the realm of what a infantry battalion should be doing. This is like a sergeant identifying this problem on patrol. He's on patrol. He sees that the sewer is bad in this area. It smells like shit. He comes back, tells his pit leader like, hey, Lieutenant, I got this problem. It goes up the chain. It's like that call for fire, calling an agency to fix the sewer. And when we're doing projects like this, it's really kind of I.O. as well, because people see that we're helping them, and then they perceive things are getting better, and then they want to actively support us.
Can you define I.O.?
I.O. information operations. Another big thing we did was we got into the governance. We married up all of the pit team leaders, married up with local district councilmen, and they ran many district councils. So you have lieutenants holding these district council meetings with the people, where the people are identifying their needs. It's not like the Marines are sitting in a closed room being like, the people need sewer. We've got an Iraqi sitting there with us being like, hey, the power's out in my neighborhood, like, what are you going to do to help me? Money was a huge weapon for us to use, and really at the company level, we needed that money to keep the momentum. If we had not had that, if they would have kept the money at the brigade, battalion level, it would have slowed our momentum down. They issued, our Lima company spent $2.1 million in CERP, which is Commander's Emergency Response Program. We spent $2.1 million, and this was a huge momentum builder to keep the will of the people. We had sheikhs tell us, we're sitting down at dinner with a sheikh, and the sheikh tells us, the reason you guys won, the people say they won Ramadi. They're like, the reason you guys won Ramadi is because you immediately started giving people jobs, you immediately started fixing sewer and stuff. This is kind of what we were talking about. Had we done this in OIF2, because there's a gap there where there's no violence, we go in through the push, maybe the front units are taking some contact, but the majority of the people in OIF1 did not take day-to-day contact. You go into the beginning of OIF2, we had a time where I believe, had we jumped right into this type of stuff, we could have avoided the bad times.
Can you say more about that? So your opinion about OIF2, which was the Hussein deployment in 2004, which you were not present for.
Correct.
You believe that if you had applied some of these techniques, that a lot of the rise of the insurgency in 2004 could have been avoided.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
Can you say more in detail about that?
We're struggling for the will of the people, right? So we come in as occupiers, but there's no violence. We've got an opportunity there, a diminishing opportunity to do something. And what we did was nothing. We just stayed there. And what the insurgents did is they actively went after the will of the people. They gave the people essential services. They gave the people hope. They gave the people all the stuff on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we didn't. Their culture is the same as this. So the people, it's an easy choice. Choose the insurgents. Had the Marines went in immediately and started doing jobs, big reconstruction projects, stuff like this, I think we still would have had the insurgents struggling to get it, but it wouldn't have got as bad as it did in Al-Qaim and Ramadi, the first deployment.
And you know other Marines in 370 who feel the same way?
I would say every Marine in 370 feels that way.
Okay.
Jobs, this is the biggest thing. It's like, how do we get left of the bomb, if you will? It's like, we're fighting in third generation warfare. We're fighting against the IED, right? So like every day you're driving, you're getting hit by the IED. Well,
right.
What do? We mech up, we get bigger armor, we do this and this. But that's just protecting us against IED. It does nothing. We need to get, they say, left of the bomb, right? What's the cause of the bomb? Like, who's putting that bomb in? Well, it's a 17 to 25-year-old male. Why is he putting that bomb in? Because the insurgents are giving him money. So if we can give this 17 to 25-year-old money, if we can give him a job, we can avoid the IED altogether. We don't need the bigger armor. We don't need the electronic countermeasure. And the way we do that is by having a guy on the deck who gives a fuck, which is a pit leader, Lieutenant Fall, Sergeant Humphrey. The money, we employed these 17 to 25-year-olds. We give them jobs. We take them out of the equation. The insurgents can't get them then. Hope was a big thing. It's like the people need to feel like things are getting better, or they're going to go with the insurgents. So going back to that 17 to 25-year-old age group, a big thing that Lehman Company did on the second deployment was we engaged the 17 to 25-year-olds wholeheartedly. That was like a target that we went after. Target not meaning like kinetically, but like, hey, we're going to engage these people, try to help them out, give them jobs, be nice to them, become friends with them. So our pit leaders, at the beginning of the deployment, the police were not getting paid. They had stood up, they had signed a death warrant against the insurgents, and they were not getting paid. And Lehman Company put 13-man teams out with 100 dudes. The rest of the battalion didn't do this. It was just Lehman Company put 13-man teams out with 100 dudes with guys that aren't getting paid. So we've got this like very fragile alliance with people who were known insurgents the year before. And the way, like, how did they overcome this? They engaged the people. They gave a fuck. Lieutenant Humphrey, Lieutenant Falk, Lieutenant Mahika, these lieutenants showed the people like, hey, we care about you. We're here to help you. They engaged that like 17 to 25-year-old populace to the point it's like, even though they weren't getting paid, the Marines, through sheer force of will, through sheer leadership, held that fragile alliance together.
And you said that this was just Lehman Company executing this task organization.
Correct.
What was the rest of the other two rifle companies in 370?
The rest of the battalion was hesitant to let go of the third generation warfare model of big